Hello everybody and welcome to Year 11 Math Methods 2020. This video is going to do a brief outline of your folio due this semester, and so we're going to discuss, sort of give people a bit of a rough idea of what's involved, and that's what I'm going to do now. So first of all, I'll leap to the question sheet. Now, it can be a bit daunting to open up a question sheet that goes on page. Just like to remind people first up that the key tasks that students need to do are what's highlighted in yellow. So we have a bit of a descriptive page at the start talking about the purpose of this task is to learn about the idea of mathematical modelling, in particular for periodic functions, which means sine and cos, and to present your answers and findings in a project format. So that's discussed through this section. So this first page is basically what you're going to see in future tasks, outlining some of the things that are required. So we have down here, now due to current circumstances, we'll be discussing some of these aspects a bit later, but at this point we're looking to get started. So your project is going to be about the productivity of a milking cow, i.e. how much milk does it make each day, with the idea that at different times of the year it will produce different amounts of milk. So every time we see a graph, I guess we're looking at a year's scale on the bottom, and going up the side is the daily milk production. So, right, in order to establish the mathematics that we're going to be involved in here, we're going to re-examine the parameters of the periodic sin function. Most students have got a pretty good understanding about this function, and indeed, well, spoiler, it was in the test, like for about 2 pages. Or 3 pages in the test. So I have very helpfully described what the A and B parameter, how they control and affect the graph. So your first task is to spend maybe a page on each of the other 2 letters, the C and the D, and explain how they affect the graph. Maybe at the end you might make a little summary about what that might mean for a mathematical model. Now, here I have included at the end of the Folio project 2 different examples of, excuse me for a second, 2 different examples of how you might go about that. This example here has 2 or 3 graphs, collects all the information at the end, and then discusses the information. When you're looking here, it's very easy to see what has changed. Period has not changed. And the minimum has going at different heights, but occurs at the same time. So it's easy to point to, in the text here, to that column, the column describing the minimum. Another approach is to do the normal graph, do the change graph, and make a comment about how it changes directly underneath the graph. And that's the approach I've used here. But overall, for students, their first task should be quite straightforward in that they are going to look at the effects of changing the C and D. No more really than a page on each of those. Okay, then we need to work out what on earth is going on with this word, the word model. We are not going to get out some plasticine, put it in the shape of a cow, but we're going to make a mathematical equation, and we need to have some sort of understanding and description of what that equation might mean. So, for instance, here we have mathematical equation, and the time, we're not talking about pi, and we're not talking about rotating around a cylinder here. We are actually talking about time in months. So somewhere this equation has got some variables that change the time from angles to months. The height of the graph would talk about at any particular time what the daily milk production is at that time. Now, words that I'm using here aren't words like, oh, this graph is 19 high. It is that in December 12, this cow is making approximately 19 litres per day. So this is what we mean by the word model, and this is what we mean by the word interpret, the effects of the model. So I have here an example of how you would explain these graphs. Now, I don't want you to explain this graph. I would like you to plot this graph and explain it. Hence, this is why this is coloured in yellow.